Do you ever feel like you're doing like all the right things in your faith? You're praying, you're reading your word, you're going to church, but throughout all of that, it still feels like something is missing in your life. It still feels like there's some type of emptiness involved and you can't figure out why. This is you. The reason why is because you might be stuck in rituals. And today I'm going to help you break free and discover the beauty that comes along with having a true relationship with Christ. So as somebody who grew up in the church, I used to think that faith was all about like following the set of rules that God had in line for us and doing things the right way so that he would be pleased with me. And, even though sometimes for the most part, when I was doing the right things, I still feel like some type of disconnect. And it wasn't until I shift my focus from the routine of things and how I was accustomed to doing things to relationship to where things just took off to a whole new level of me. And I found freedom in a brand new way. After I developed a real relationship with Christ and like one that wasn't like textbook, one that wasn't based on what people say we should do or how Christians are supposed to show up, how Christians are supposed to look. Like that's when my life really came alive. Like that's when I really started living. I started being more free. I started being able to show up as myself more. I just really started to see myself in a whole new way because I wasn't no longer allowing the rituals and the routines of Christianity to define my relationship. And that's why I want to talk about the difference between rituals and relationships, because I think it's so important and it is so key to helping you elevate on your faith journey. So what are rituals? Rituals are these habits, these practices that we do mostly out of tradition, obligation, like, going to church every Sunday, or, if you're saying the same prayer and not really thinking about what you're saying, you're just repeating it. That's what rituals are. You're basically doing things because you're accustomed to doing them, or you've been told to do them, you've been taught to do them, but you're not doing them with any real purpose. You're doing it just because it's a routine for you and you're accustomed to it, right? But there is no relationship, there is no deep connection there. There is nothing that's going to give you that fulfillment and that fullness that you're looking for to replace that emptiness. And so that's why you can be doing all the things. That's why you can be going to church every Sunday and every Wednesday for some. And that's why you can be in a choir. That's why you can be on a praise team. That's why you can be look like you so tuned in with your faith on the surface, but still be so empty and feeling like you're missing something. And that's because you're not truly locked in on the level that God needs for you to be locked in, where he can do the true inner work during that time. And relationship is when it's just amazing to have a relationship with God. First of all, let me say that relationship is when you have a personal relationship with God. It's when you can go to him and talk to him just like he's your friend, your homie, your bestie, your whoever, your ace boon coon, because y'all have that relationship. That's what relationship is all about. Like, relationship is you're doing something because you want to, not because you feel like you have to, not because you feel like you're obligated to. And so when you think about a relationship with a friend, like a friendship, you have that friendship and you enjoy their relationship because it is something that is adding value to you and you're adding value to that other person. So it's not like a one-sided ship. It's a relationship. Y'all are in connection and relation together. And so y'all, when you interact with each other, they feed your spirit in some type of way. You enjoy talking to your friend. You enjoy conversing with them. You enjoy going out to eat with them because y'all are able to have these two-way conversations and be so real and raw with each other. And so relationship is just that. It's a relationship. And that's the difference between routine and relationships. Because when you think about it, think about your friend right now, like whoever comes to your mind, somebody who you're very close with. Think about that person right now. If that part, I'm gonna make some assumptions. I'm gonna assume that y'all probably have a relationship to where you are consistent in the relationship. Maybe you talk often, maybe you hang out often, maybe you take trips together, maybe you study the word together. You're doing something in constant communion with each other, right? Mind you, we're talking about somebody who you're very, very close with. This is the person that comes to mind. Now think about that same person and then think about if it was a routine. What if you only talk to that person once every 6 months? So twice a year. What if y'all text one time a month? Is that a relationship at that point? you're doing routine because you got in the habit of saying, okay, we talk twice a year, we text, every, month or whatever. That's a routine. And so you've come to develop that routine to check out, but that's more so surface level. It's not deep on the level to where you can get into the nitty gritty of their day, their, the challenges they're currently having, the problems they're experiencing, just doing life with them. Like, you can't do that on a surface level with routine. Right. And so, but with the relationship, you can get all in there, right? Y'all discussing everything, and you're able to bear your friends' burdens. You're able to listen to them when they're going through a tough time. You're able to be a brother or sister in their time of need. That is what a relationship is. And that's the difference between routine or rituals and relationships. And that's why it's so important for us to develop a relationship with God. Because think about it, when we have a relationship with God, then now this is my friend. Now it doesn't feel like he's some type of higher power off in the sky and I have to be fearful of him. Yes, I have to like reverence of him, like fear in that way, reverence, but not fear as if, oh, I'm afraid that God is going to reject me or chastise me if I do something wrong. No, like whenever you're going through your toughest challenges in life, whenever you're struggling, whenever you have questions that need answers, go to him. That's who you're supposed to go with. If y'all got a relationship, you can do that. You can go to him and say, God, I'm having a tough time today. I'm struggling mentally. Like, today is a rough day to me. I don't know how I'm gonna get through. There's so many things going on in my life. I got financial issues. I don't know how I'm gonna make ends meet. I don't know how this bill is gonna get paid. I just don't know. Like, I'm struggling. I need your help, right? And so if you're talking to a friend, that's kind of similar to how the conversation go. You usually will tell a friend like the struggles you're going through, and they may offer a listening ear or they may offer advice. But that's how it is talking to God. When you can go to him and just be so free, that's the freeing part of it all, is that relationship, because you know that you can go to him. And even in the instances where some things are maybe you may be to a point to where you don't want to share everything with everybody. And so having a relationship with God fills in that gap, because now you can say, okay, I have somebody who I can confide in and talk to, and it's not going to go nowhere. It's going to stop at him, when I talk to him. And then that means you're putting your complete trust and God to give you the answers and to show you the way. And so that's why relationship is so important, and it changes absolutely everything. I really wish somebody could have taught me about the importance of relationship early on. Like I said, I'm a believer. I grew up in a church. So as you can imagine, you're going up in church, you're going to church constantly, right? Every week. But as a child, that was a routine for me. That was a ritual for me. I was going because that's what my parents did. I lived in their house, you go to church. And when I was going at that time, I didn't really have understanding of the word. I was just being exposed. The seed was being sown, train up a child in the way that he should go. And when he get older, he won't depart. Hence why I've come back and I haven't fully departed. But during that time, it was a routine and a ritual for me. I wasn't fully immersed in getting to know God on a personal and deep level, and to just really casting all of my cares on him. You hear scripture say, cast all your cares and worry on God, and do not be anxious for anything. Like, those are routine things that we're taught and that we speak out of our mouths. But when you're in routine, you don't really believe it in your heart. You don't believe it in your heart. And so that's what relationship does. When relationships come in, you develop a deep inner knowing. You start to feel the things that you're saying. Okay, let me bring it back in. Pause. Stop. Let's come back in, because I got completely off track and carried away there. Okay, so I was really supposed to go into telling you how you can move from ritual to relationships. First of all, let's start with your heart, but I want to share some practical tips with you on how you can do this. Number one, when you talk to God, like I already said, you want to pray and talk to him like you're having a conversation with a friend. Be vulnerable, be real, be honest, be just authentic. Just lay it all out on the ground. Talk to him like you would be talking to somebody who you trust, right? People say, oh, you shouldn't question God. Well, I'm going to challenge that, because I believe that I have the ability to question God and to go to him and ask questions and say, God, why is this happening? Like, why am I experiencing this? It don't mean, people say, why me? Like, mean that you're doubting God, or that you're trying to be rude or mean, or you're trying to be like a rebel. It just means that you're a human and you have real questions. Like if you have a question for your friend, you're gonna go and ask your friend, right? I mean, the same way with God. Like, if you can go to Him with your questions and just ask Him, I think that's what humanized the relationship and makes you get locked in and say, okay, God really does want the best for me. He really does want a relationship with me. He really does want me to open up and us to have that conversation to where I can fully feel that He's real, and that He really wants to help me grow, and He really wants to have my mind in a state of peace and to help me out in all the areas that I struggle, right? And so I think having that conversation, well, talking to him in a conversation seems like he's a friend. That's going to be tip number one. You should, if you're not doing this, you should try this like right now. It's going to change your mindset. It's going to change your life. Tip number two: when you are reading the word, when you are reading your Bible, when you are reading the word, let these words that's in these pages, let these words that's in these pages speak to you. Let God speak to you through the words. I think so. The issue is that sometimes so let me show you this book real quick. So look at these. This says the 1 year Bible. The 1 year Bible. This is what this says. And sometimes we can get so caught up in ritual and routine that we say, okay, I'm going to read this Bible in a year just to say I can read it. So just to say I read the Bible. So it's like, checking something off a checklist. And so what you're doing is you're reading the pages and you're going day by day, and you're just going through it, just reading it, but not allowing the words to penetrate your heart, not allowing God to speak to you through the words, not seeing how you can allow those words to speak to you in your current season of your life. And so that's part of breaking away from routine and getting into relationship. Because if you just take away the routine of saying, okay, I have to check this off today, and say, okay, I'm looking forward to what the words are going to speak to me today. And then you talk to God and ask Him, show me something in His words that's going to apply to my life right now, or this week, or this month, that's going to help elevate my life. And so when you transform that experience, and when you invite God in and to help you along the way, that's what's going to help you. Because truth be told, y'all, and I know I'm not the only one who have felt this way, but truth be told, when I used to read the Bible, the reason why I didn't like reading the Bible was because it was boring. In my mind, it was boring, like reading all of these words that you don't understand. And it seemed like the storyline was just long and drawn out. And it was difficult. So it felt more like a task to get in the word and to read the word. But once I changed my mindset and my strategy to say, okay, God, speak to me. There are so many lessons in the Bible and wisdom in the Bible that speak to our current life, our current seasons, our current valleys, that we wouldn't pick up anything else or look to anybody else if we really knew. But the key is we have to be intentional in setting the tone in our mindset and changing our perspective and say, okay, when I get in this word, it's not going to be a routine for me. I'm looking for transformation. I'm looking for God to speak to me. So that's tip number two, is to, when you get in your word, transition your mind from thinking about a routine and trying to get through and saying I have to read the word, and transform your mind to say, okay, God, what do you have for me today? What words are you going to speak to me today through these words? Tip number three is spending time with God outside of the traditional routines and rituals. So outside of the typical going to church, which is great, go for a walk. Go for a walk, and when you're going for a walk, like, I know, sometimes or you driving a car to work, or you cooking food. Identify like a task that you do daily, like something that you absolutely do daily, and then you can incorporate that time to let that be your time to talk to God, to have your conversations with Him. You can do things like journaling your thoughts, write down your prayers, write the vision, make it plain, like write all of these things down so that you can look back on them and see how far you've come, how far you've grown, how far you've evolved. And so that's how you transform experiencing God in a traditional sense, like going to church, and then taking Him into areas of your life that you're going to pretty much do every single day. Like, take Him to that space with you, because that's what makes it, that's how you build that relationship. That's how you get that connection. And that's how it feels like a more natural a more natural relationship. So I hope those tips are very helpful. I just want to tell you that God loves you exactly as you are. He is not looking for you to be perfect. He is not looking for you to be all well polished and well put together in this little perfect round mold. He is looking for a connection with you. He wants you to identify with him, and y'all get together and create plans and strategies together, because he loves you. He loves you. I'm telling you, he loves you just as you are, right? No matter how messed up you may be right now, no matter how much you may be off track right now, he still loves you like that. He wants to walk with you through every part of your life. And just you having that desire and that fire and that you're desiring to connect with him more, that alone is enough. Like, having a desire. So don't lose that desire. Keep that fire going and be intentional about building a relationship with him, because he wants you to build a relationship. John 15:15 says that I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. God desires to call you friend. Friend. God desires to call you friend. And when you have a friend in Jesus, you have one of the most precious, one of the most valuable, one of the most amazing relationships and gifts that you could ever have. I'm telling you, absolutely amazing. So I hope this was very encouraging to you. I hope you've taken something away with this. And I just want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, am I stuck in rituals and routines, or am I building a real relationship with God? This is the time for you to be so super honest with yourself, because that's going to be the very first step for real growth. So if this video has resonated with you, let me know. Leave me a comment below. How are you going to challenge your routines and establish a relationship with God? How are you going to build in that area? Keep the faith.